Okay, so let's get started, right? So first we'll discuss what machine learning is, right? So let's say that we have this thing called computer, okay? Computer, okay, and we want this computer to do some tasks for us, okay? Now there are two ways of telling this computer to do our task. One is that we can give some specific instructions, like basically that's what you all have been doing in Python, right? So you write programs and you tell this computer exactly what you need to do, and this computer will do those things, and that's basically it, right? So, and the other way of getting our task done is through learning, right? So in this case, we do not provide specific instructions to the computer, rather we show them like how it is done. So we basically do the task ourselves, either by using some expensive program or by human labor, or somehow basically we do get things done. We record the data for those tasks, and then we provide this data to the computer, and we ask the computer to learn from this data, right? So find some patterns using some mathematical models and all those things, and once it finds those patterns and everything, then we will give this computer new data and it will do this task for us, okay? So that's called learning, right? So it is specifically useful and in several cases, right? So one is that when providing specific instruction is like too hard, okay? So like if you want to for example, given a picture, you want to classify whether it's a cat or a dog or something like that, or detect specific objects from it, right? Then it is like very hard to write programs that will detect those patterns and do those classification for us. But for machines, it's rather easier to learn some patterns from the given data, right? So that's basically what we'll be learning in machine learning, right? Okay, so there are two types in machine learning, mainly two types. There are like there is also one more, but we'll discuss this later. So okay, the first is supervised, right? So, and the second is obviously unsupervised. Okay, so what is supervised learning, right? So in the supervised learning, what we have is, let's say we have this data, right? And in this data we have like a bunch of rows and bunch of columns, right? So columns are like basically some features and the rows are our data points. And let's say that this is the last column, which is our target, right? So this is what we are trying to predict from all these other columns. That's our task, right? So that is basically falling into supervised learning category, where what we are going to do is we are going to give this computer a bunch of data for which the target value is present. We have already computed it, right? So let's say we have computed it for all this data, and we want the computer to learn from this data, like the fields and the target values, some patterns, and using those patterns we will provide our computer some new data, right? So let's say this is new data. Okay, wait, yeah, we want a square. Okay, so this is new data for which the fields are still there, but the target is not present. Okay, so that's what we want this computer to do the prediction for us. So this we don't know. Okay, so this is supervised learning. So initially we provided some data, we showed the computer how things are done, that there is a specific target in our data that we provided the computer, and from this it is finding patterns and learning things how to do the prediction. So that is supervised learning. Okay, and the second one is called unsupervised learning, where there is no target. Okay, so there is no target. So what exactly are we doing here, right? So in this case we are just providing some random data, right? So let's say basically we provided a bunch of news articles, right? And I want the computer to find patterns in this data, right? So there are patterns obviously, right? So let's say this set of news segments are related to each other. Let's say they are all from the sports category. This set of news segments are all related. I don't know what the category is, but they are all related. They seem all related, right? These are also another set of categories that are related. News articles, these are also related. And this is basically like one way of finding patterns, right? So in this case, there is no specific target. I'm not asking the computer to categorize it as this news article as a specific, field. Let's say I don't want it to find out whether it's a sports related or politics related or what kind of news article it is. I just want to find a set of news which are related to each other. Okay, so that's an example of unsupervised learning. We just provide the data and we want the computers to find patterns in it without any prediction of target or something, right? So there is no specific training part here, right? So this in supervised learning, this part where we had the target, we provided the target values, and the computer basically found patterns in this. This phase is basically the training part of this machine learning task. Okay, so that's supervised and unsupervised learning. All right, and in our course we'll mostly be focusing on supervised learning. So once you master the supervised learning, unsupervised learning, it's kind of not hard to master. I'll say not exactly similar, but it's also not very hard to master. There is another type of learning. It's called reinforcement learning, and in this course we'll not be touching that at all. Okay, so that's supervised and unsupervised. So in supervised learning also there are two more types, right? So one is called classification and the other is called regression. So what is classification, right? So in this classification we have our target T, and this T is basically categories or some sort of discrete values, right? So this when this happens, like, so when our target values is basically a set of categories, in that case our task is a classification task, right? So what do I mean by categories? So let's say we have let's say again, let's talk about the news articles, right? So we have this news article, and we want to predict the category of this news article. Say whether it's sports related or it's politics related or it's international news or whatever, right? So it's Bollywood related or Hollywood related or those kind of categories we want to predict, right? In this case, there is no natural ordering of this target, right? So there is no ordering in the sense that there is no numbering, like news is politics is number one or sports is number two or things like that, right? In the regression task, right, on the other hand, we have our target which is continuous or basically you can say that a numerical value, right? So in this case it's a proper numerical value that we are predicting, and for this numerical values there is an ordering for it. So for example, our task could be like, we have certain properties of a house, let's say its location, its other things like a number of bedrooms in it, its size, its area, all those things, right? Neighborhood, what kind of neighborhood it is in, all those things, right? And based on all those things, we are predicting the price of the house, right? So this price of the house, it's a numerical value, and it's okay, like it is also in some ways discrete, but it is still like a proper number that we are trying to predict, right? So in that case, that is a regression type of a task. We are predicting a numerical value on which there is an ordering, like, so 10,000 is smaller than 20,000, then 30,000 is bigger, and those kind of things. We have a natural ordering of our target values. Whereas in classification task, all we have is bunch of categories. We usually don't have an ordering of this category, right? So those are the two things we will be focused on in this course, right? So we will first learn some classification tasks, right? So some classification models, and later on, once we master all these tasks, then we will focus on regression tasks, right? So that's pretty much all what we will be looking at in this course. So let's get started with Scikit Learn.